mistakes happen. You're human. I get it. But if you're making any of these 7 mistakes as a freelance writer, you are setting yourself up for failure. So I want to make sure that you avoid these 7 common freelance beginner writer mistakes so that way you can actually build an online business, quit your 9-to-5, and enjoy a life where you can travel and not be tied down to a desk. Hey everybody, my name's Michael Leonard and I'm the creator of Inspire Your Success and a fellow freelance writer. So I want to share with you today 7 different tips that I see so many freelance writers make these common mistakes that are really holding them back. And you know what? I was guilty of every single one of them. So I'm speaking from experience after writing for a little over 15 months now, and I want to make sure that you can actually avoid these so that way you're keeping clients, keeping your money, and not going through a lot of the struggle that so many writers face at the beginning. So first off too, if you like this kind of content, make sure you like it and you want more of it, again, subscribe, because I am having a ton of content come out in 2019 and I want to make you crush it as a freelance writer. So the first thing that I see happen is to not have a freelance writing website. Now think about this. If you went to a traditional 9-to-5 job and you went to interview for it, if you didn't have a resume, wouldn't that be kind of silly? Wouldn't you feel like, whoa, I'm really underprepared? Or even if they said, hey, could you hand me your resume? And then you get there and you forgot it at home or whatever, and now all of a sudden you're in that like awkward spot. That's the exact thing that happens as a freelance writer if you don't have an online presence with a freelance writing website. Now, I talk more about it in the link down below. I have a thing to how to create an epic website so that way you can do it. But you need to have a freelance writing website. That is your home base online, because you're going to meet people at events or networking, or you're going to want to just have some pitches to clients or job boards. You're going to want to send them somewhere. Like, you can say you're a great writer, but if you have no writing experience and they don't know who you are at all, they're not going to be too inclined to actually work with you. So one of the biggest things that I recommend doing is to create an awesome freelance writer's website. Now, some of the basic things that you'll want on there are like an about page, what your services are, your portfolio, so that way you can show what kind of samples you've written or where you've been published. And again, just give a lot more credibility to yourself as a writer, because there's a ton of writers out there, and editors and people that are actually hiring you are gonna look around. They're gonna see what you're about, where you've been published, what kind of online presence you have. So having a writing website is huge, so do not skip this step. All right, the second thing that I see is that your pitching sucks. Look, if you're cold pitching clients, or even if you're writing in a job board or reaching out to people on LinkedIn, you have to have your message down. You wanna make sure it's clear, concise, it asks a question at the end, and you're really putting yourself in the best light, because again, you only get one first impression. So as a writer, when you're reaching out and doing these cold pitches, what you do and say on that first one really determines a lot. And even if you don't get a response, that's okay. A lot of the clients I've gotten have been from follow-up. So that's kind of part 2 of this second mistake, is to not follow up. One of the biggest things that I did at the beginning was I just sent one email and just hoped. I just prayed that, like, oh my God, I'm gonna get the job. They're gonna reach out. They're gonna offer me this money. I'm gonna like make it, all this stuff. That's not how it works. Sometimes you will. Like, look, if you have a great pitch and you have a big presence online already and you're just, have some good timing, whatever, you might have that. But for the most part, it's going to need some follow-up. Like, if you've ever been in sales, you never really close on the first call, the first outreach point, right? You have to follow up. So I can't stress this enough. Make sure you nail your pitch. Make sure it's super easy for them to say yes. And then if you don't hear back, follow up. You can't just think one pitch, one email, and that's going to be it. So get creative. Find ways on LinkedIn to reach out. Email them again. Hell, even give them a call. Like, this is some way you can definitely stand out that a lot of other writers aren't doing. Third mistake I see is that you're only hustling when you're all of a sudden seeing the money slow or you lose some clients. Now look, if you want to crush it as a freelance writer, you need to constantly set goals and make sure that you're staying ahead of the game. You can't just hustle when things are slow, because then you're going to just repeat this cycle over and over again. So what I recommend is have a goal. Say you want to make $5,000 a month, $7,000, $10,000, and don't stop hustling until you actually get that. Now, I'm not in the traditional sense where you need to hustle 24/7 and work till your eyes bleed, all that stuff. Like, you need to recharge, you need to have self-care, you need to do all that stuff, but just make sure you're spending your time the right way, so that way you're constantly getting more clients and higher paying clients, and not having to get to that point where you're having to just take low paying jobs because you need the money to keep the lights on. So don't hustle when it's slow. Keep that mentality, keep that strong work ethic all the time. So the fourth mistake that I see freelance writers make is that they just don't have processes. And I was so guilty of this. I actually talk about this a lot in another video, which I'll link down below. But man, I was so bad about this. Because I left a 9 to 5, I was so tired of structure. I was tired of having a boss. I was tired of having someone tell me when to take off, or what days you had to come in, when you had to work, all that stuff. And it just pissed me off. I was like, I don't want any structure. Well, let me tell you, if you don't have any structure, you're going to be missing out, because you need to have a process. You need to have a pitching process. You need to have a process for your time management. That's one of the biggest things that I think most freelance writers think is like, oh, I can work on my couch or go to the coffee shop. I can do it whenever. You need to have a process, so that way you're making the most of your time and not spending twice as much as it takes to actually write an article. So get some processes down. One of the things that's worked for me is I do an outline the night before for articles. So that way when I wake up and I do my writing, it's easy to just pull up my laptop and start writing. I don't have to research and create the outline and check with the client and all this stuff. Make it easy to just open your laptop and start writing when you actually have that time allotted in your day. And what I have found personally is that I write much better in the morning. And it's not surprising, you know, as you go through the day, you get tired, you have different stresses come up, and you know, you're just gonna need a little bit more refreshed creativity sometimes. And I found that the morning is a great way to do that. So I highly recommend that you're actually writing in the morning, you have a process, you have some sort of outline, and that way you're ready to go and not wasting time. Fifth mistake that I see is writers not taking advantage of social media. And again, this was me. Oh man, I don't know why I avoided social media like the plague. I think I just had read all these things about how social media is addictive and all these things, which is true, but you have to use it if you're trying to grow a business. Like, this is where your clients are. And now I've been able to get clients from Twitter, LinkedIn, even Instagram. So do not discount the power of social media. So I would recommend having an actual business account on Instagram, a LinkedIn, a Twitter, like have some sort of presence there, so that way you can link it on your freelance writing website, and make sure that you just have, you know, professional stuff on there. You don't want to have your drunken Facebook college pictures while a client's thinking about hiring you, right? So you want to make sure that you're putting out a great image of yourself and projecting that you're knowledgeable about the niche that you're in and that you're a committed freelance writer. Again, having a good social media profile just adds credibility, and it's a great way to get clients. So don't make the mistake I did of just avoiding it totally. Before we jump into number 6, again, make sure you hit subscribe if you're liking this content. And if you have any questions on it, make sure to hit the comment box so I can answer it in the next video. Number 6 is a tough one for me because it hits home. I actually am so guilty of this sometimes still that it's almost embarrassing. But one of the biggest things, one of the most common mistakes that I see writers make is to just have bad editing. And I'm not gonna lie, I still have room to improve on this myself. But it really hit me last year when I had an awesome client I was so excited about. It was actually ghostwriting for a New York Times bestselling author. And I was writing for their blog, and I worked for them for about 4 months. And it was my highest paying gig at the time, and I actually got fired, kind of. They kind of just stopped talking to me, so I guess I got fired because they had mentioned constantly that my editing and editing and editing. And I don't know why exactly it was. I feel like one of it was the reason is I wasn't proofreading it, I wasn't reading out loud nearly enough, and I was also just spread thin. I was trying to take on too many clients and do too many things in my other business that I just wasn't spending enough time editing. So I don't want you to make this mistake because, again, I don't want you to lose your highest paying client like I did. Like, it sucked. It really like hit my confidence. I was kind of bummed. So I encourage you to make sure that your writing is great, but then make sure to edit the hell out of it. Like, spend time, get an app, have someone else read it out loud, like do all different things that you can to make sure that your editing is going to be the reason, not going to be the reason that you actually lose a job. The last mistake that I see writers make is to just have bad communication with clients. And it's something that I've been all right at. I think I have some room to improve, but I think that as an editor, now that I've actually hired writers and hired people, that you just want to know that the writers are actually involved. They know the deadlines, they're doing the stuff, because sometimes when you're hiring people for a big job and you don't hear anything, it's kind of like, hey, what's going on here? So as a writer, do your best to communicate. I think if you communicate well with the client, it will make up for some poor writing some days, or some poor editing, or not using links, or whatever else you might not have done. Because at the end of the day, people just want reliable workers. And as a freelancer, there's kind of this connotation sometimes that, oh, they're just a freelancer, like they're, easily replaceable, we don't have to pay them benefits, all this stuff. So break the mold and communicate, over-communicate with clients. Build some rapport in emails, check them out on social media, follow them, like whatever, like become their friend, because the more they like you, the harder it is gonna be for them to actually fire you. So again, you wanna make sure that you're just keeping good rapport up. And kind of part two of that is always hitting your deadlines. I can say, honestly, in over a year of writing, I've never missed a deadline. Like, that is one of the biggest things that writers have to do, is to not miss deadlines. It's easy. Like, look, have a calendar, have a reminder on your phone, on your computer, whatever you have to do, just don't miss deadlines. Like, a piece that isn't that great, that has some work to do, but is actually at the deadline, is way better than something that's arriving 2 or 3 days late, because then clients are going to be pissed off and they're going to be way more likely to actually let you go. So I really, really recommend that you just turn in your deadlines, always make them, and turn it in early if you can. Like, there's no shame in like doing it 1 or 2 days early. You'll become your editor's best friend. They'll give you more gigs and you'll make more money. So stay on their good side and over communicate. All right, hopefully you can avoid these 7 common freelance writing mistakes, so that way you can keep your clients, make more money, and actually create the business that you want. Because again, I don't want you to have all these different mistakes that I made that lost me clients, that had a lot of frustration, stress, all that stuff. So I guarantee if you avoid these 7, you're gonna crush it as a freelance writer. Now, if you want some more of these videos, I have a ton of different ones that I've done recently on freelance writing, so make sure to subscribe down below and check out the channel. I have all different ways of finding job boards and how to pitch and all these other ways. So I just want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that as a writer. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a like. I want to make sure I'm creating content that you guys love to watch. And if you are a beginning freelance writer, or someone that's just maybe starting out and kind of testing the waters, make sure you grab my free ebook down below, and it'll show you the exact steps I took from 0 to 5K a month as a freelance writer. Again, thanks so much for being here, and I hope you have an epic day.